Right now, you are doing something your ancestors almost never did. You are sitting still, not resting after a hunt, not recovering from a wound, not waiting out a storm in a cave with nothing but the sound of rain and the dark pressing in around you. You are simply sitting, not doing very much, and your brain is quietly going to war with itself because of it. Boredom feels harmless. It feels like an inconvenience, like a minor glitch in an otherwise functioning day. But what if it is not harmless at all? What if boredom is one of the most powerful and dangerous forces your evolution ever produced, and modern life has simply handed it more fuel than it was ever designed to burn? That question is not rhetorical. The science behind it is stranger and more unsettling than you might expect. Your brain did not develop boredom by accident. Nothing in your neurology developed by accident. Every circuit, every signal, every itch and urge that fires inside your skull is there because at some point in the last 2 million years, it helped something like you survive long enough to reproduce. That is the only job evolution has. It does not care about your happiness. It does not care about your peace of mind. It cares only about whether you kept moving, kept searching, kept solving problems before something else solved you first. Boredom, it turns out, is the mechanism your brain uses to enforce that imperative. Researcher Sandy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire has spent years studying what boredom actually does to the human brain, and her findings are counterintuitive in a way that should make you pay attention. Boredom is not the absence of stimulation, it is an active state. Your brain is not going quiet when you are bored. It is ramping up. It is scanning. It is throwing out signals that say the environment around you is not providing what you need, and you need to go find it. Now, think about what that signal meant on a savanna 200,000 years ago. If you were sitting still, you were probably not eating. You were not gathering. You were not solving a problem or building a tool or learning a skill. Sitting still in a world that wanted to kill you was a liability. So your brain evolved a system to punish stillness, to make it feel wrong, to push you into motion, into exploration, into doing something, anything, that might lead to a resource or a solution or an edge over whatever was trying to eat you. That system is boredom. And it worked. For most of human history, it worked extraordinarily well. The moment you felt that restless, crawling, purposeless discomfort, you moved. You went looking. Maybe you found food. Maybe you found water. Maybe you followed a river somewhere new and discovered something your group had never seen before. The boredom to action loop was survival in its purest form. It was your brain refusing to let you waste time when time was the most precious resource your species had. But now look at your life. You live in the most stimulation-rich environment any human being has ever occupied. There is a screen in your pocket that can deliver 1,000 years of human culture in the time it takes you to blink. There are entire industries, staffed by rooms full of engineers and psychologists and designers whose single purpose is to capture your attention and hold it. The food your ancestors spent entire days hunting is available in a building 30 seconds from your front door. Almost every physical problem that your brain evolved to solve through restless searching has already been solved for you. And yet the boredom signal is still firing. It fires when you put down your phone. It fires between meetings. It fires in the 30 seconds you wait for an elevator. It fires in the silence between one distraction and the next. And when it fires, your brain does exactly what it was designed to do. It reaches for the nearest available action. It grabs for the closest stimulus. It starts doing something, even if that something is entirely counterproductive or harmful or meaningless, because doing something is what the system was built to reward. Neuroscientist Kent Berridge at the University of Michigan made a distinction that might be the most important idea for understanding what is happening inside you right now. He separated what he called wanting from liking. Your brain has two distinct systems for reward. One makes you want things, one makes you like things, and they do not always agree. The wanting system, driven largely by dopamine, is old. It is ancient. It is the system that scans for reward and pulls you toward it. It is restless by design. It never fully satisfies because a brain that was fully satisfied would stop searching, and a brain that stopped searching would stop surviving. The liking system, tied more closely to opioid receptors, is what you feel when you actually have something good. Warmth, contentment, pleasure. That system is quieter, calmer, easier to miss. Boredom is the wanting system waking up and finding nothing to want. And when the wanting system cannot find a real target, it takes any target it can get. It sends you scrolling through content you do not care about. It sends you to the refrigerator when you are not hungry. It sends you into arguments you do not want to have, just to feel the friction of something happening. It pushes you toward substances, toward risk, toward novelty, toward anything that mimics the shape of a problem being solved. Because solving problems is what it was built to do, and it will not stop until something fills the space. In a 2014 study published in the journal Science, psychologist Timothy Wilson and his colleagues found something that should have been headline news. When people were placed alone in a room with nothing to do for 15 minutes, a significant portion of them chose to administer mild electric shocks to themselves rather than sit in silence. They had been given the option to shock themselves before the study and had said they would not want to do it again. And yet, when boredom arrived, the shock became preferable to nothing. The brain would rather have pain than vacancy. That is not a bug. That is the system working exactly as designed. Pain is information. Pain means something is happening. On a savanna 200,000 years ago, something happening was almost always more survivable than nothing happening. The quiet moments were the dangerous ones. The predator you never heard was the one that got you. So your brain learned to fear the quiet. Now think about what that fear looks like in a modern human life. It looks like the inability to sit with a thought for more than a few seconds before reaching for your phone. It looks like the 3 a.m. spiral where your mind will not let you rest because it is convinced there is a problem somewhere that you have not solved yet. It looks like the way certain people chase the highs of crisis, manufacturing drama and urgency around themselves, not because they want chaos, but because their nervous system cannot tolerate the alternative. It looks like the global addiction to content, to noise, to stimulation, because the moment stimulation drops below a certain threshold, the ancient system activates, and the discomfort it produces is nearly impossible to sit with. Philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote in the 17th century that all of humanity's problems stem from the inability to sit quietly in a room alone. He had no concept of neuroscience. He had no access to fMRI studies or dopamine research or the findings of behavioral psychologists. He was simply observing the pattern. He noticed that humans seemed constitutionally incapable of stillness and that the lengths they would go to avoid it were at the root of almost every self-inflicted disaster in the human story. He was describing boredom. He just did not have the word for the mechanism. There is something darker in this picture that is worth sitting with, and sitting with it is uncomfortable by design. If boredom is a push toward action, and if the actions available in the modern world are increasingly optimized to satisfy the boredom signal without ever actually resolving it, then something is very wrong with the loop. The scroll never ends. The feed never empties. The next episode plays automatically. The wanting system is never fully fed, but it is constantly stimulated, which means it never reaches the quiet that would allow it to reset. It is running on a treadmill at full speed and being told it is traveling somewhere. This is one of the reasons that rates of anxiety, restlessness, and a pervasive sense of meaninglessness have climbed in almost every society where digital stimulation is abundant. The boredom system is active. It is looking for a problem to solve. But the problems it is being handed are not real problems. They are simulations of problems, engineered frictions and artificial novelties that trigger the seeking signal without ever satisfying it. Your brain is hunting, but the prey is made of pixels, and it never dies, and you never eat. And the hunger keeps going. The anthropologist David Graeber spent years studying what he called bullshit jobs, work that feels meaningless and serves no clear purpose, and found that the psychological damage they cause is not primarily about stress or overwork. It is about boredom, about the specific kind of suffering that arrives when the brain's problem-solving circuitry has nothing real to solve. That suffering, he argued, is profound. It corrodes identity. It produces a particular kind of existential despair that is not sadness exactly, but the constant low-level signal that your existence is not being used for anything that matters. The boredom system, built to push you toward meaning, can become the engine of meaninglessness when the targets it sends you toward are hollow. So what do you do with that? The first thing is simply to notice it. To notice that the pull you feel when you reach for your phone in a quiet moment is not weakness or laziness. It is a system that is 2 million years old doing exactly what it was built to do. It is your brain refusing to let you waste a moment when moments were once all you had. The second thing is to understand that the discomfort of boredom is not evidence that something is wrong. It is the signal before the signal. In the ancient world, the restlessness that boredom produced was often the precursor to the most important things humans ever did. It drove exploration. It drove invention. It drove the restless searching that eventually turned a small ape on an African savanna into the species that split the atom and mapped the genome and sent machines to the edge of the solar system. The wanting system, when pointed at something real, is extraordinary. When it has a genuine problem to solve, a real skill to build, a true challenge to meet, it is one of the most powerful forces in the known universe. It is the engine of everything your species ever made. It does not need to be silenced, it needs to be aimed. And that is the reframe your ancestors could never have imagined needing. You live in the only moment in human history when the danger is not too little stimulation. The danger is too much of the wrong kind. The system that was built to push you towards something real is being hijacked by things that are engineered to feel real but cost you nothing and build you nothing and lead you nowhere. Right now, in this moment, you are doing something your ancestors almost never did. You are sitting still, and the question your 2 million-year-old brain is asking is the same one it has always asked, the same one that drove every act of exploration and invention and survival in the long, strange story of your species. What are you going to do next?